got to watch 9 new releases in the month of August 2024, and so now it's time to rank it from my least favorite to my favorite. Welcome to Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of the month of August 2024. As far as movies and TV series go, what was your favorite and least favorite of the past month? But getting right into it, in last place, we have Borderlands. Now me, I'm not any personal fan of playing video games or anything along the lines of that, so I never really had any experience with Borderlands. So watching this as a moviegoer, just generally watching to see what the story has, it wasn't a great movie. There was some good action, some good moments here and there that really just brought out some entertainment and not necessarily something you had to take seriously, but at the same time, because it didn't have very good storylines, the writing was weak, and the characters were particularly uninteresting in the way they went from point A to point B, not really having character arcs along the way. It was lackluster and the worst of the month. And at number 8, we have The Mousetrap. Yes, this is a knockoff Disney film. Now that Disney's original look at the Mickey Mouse is now up for grabs, and it's a horror film that it does play along its own gimmicks. It's not completely original by any means of what you're expecting out of a horror movie, but it does deliver on some action, some good looks into what they're doing with the camera work or anything along the lines, so that it's not particularly great cinematography or a great film altogether, but it does stand out just a little bit because it isn't particularly something that I expected anything grand out of, and so it delivered on basically a B-level horror movie that was exactly what it needed to be, although it was a little underwhelming with how it told its story, built up its characters, and went about with its kills. And at number 7, we have The Crow remake. Now, for me, a lot of people have been dogging on this one. If you haven't seen the Crow sequels, those are a whole lot worse. After the original Brandon Lee version of The Crow, we got 3 sequels that are also remakes because they essentially tell the same story with a new actor, with not following along the same tagline. And so this is generally the same thing. It does some unique things with its updated technology. The cinematography can be great, though the location settings are not the most inspiring to be viewed upon with the screening. There's some fresh kills, some bloodfest that is always a good fun to be had, and so I do enjoy aspects of what it does with the film, what it looks at with the afterlife, but for the first half of the movie, or so much of the movie, it spends a lot of time trying to convince us of the chemistry, what we get from Bill Skarsgård, and who he's in a relationship with. It's not that they are bad actors or have bad chemistry, it's just that the writing just not sell them at all as a couple, and because we're spending so much more time with that than all of the other films do with that relationship, it just becomes boring fest at the end of the day. Maybe it would be a little bit better if it didn't have any films before it or the original with Brandon Lee, but this just isn't particularly the most inspiring of a film to begin with. And at number 6, we have M. Night Shyamalan's Trap. Now this one is a complicated mess, just what we get with the relationship of the characters. It's a little weak with M. Night Shyamalan's writing, even if his directing is particularly good. What he does with the camera work, certain things here and there. The concert half of the movie is dragging on a bit too long because I'm not really knowing what to expect, who is all involved, and where it's leading up to with its twist. Joshua Hartnett is good, and his daughter as well. It just does good with what their location is set in, but it's not a particular location or setting that interests me, and so from the get-go, I'm already knowing some idea of what to expect from the trailer, and all of that moment is just sold to me already. And so there's not a big loss of momentum with what you're getting up to, what you're building up to once it goes into the latter half of the film, which I didn't expect to last so long outside of the concert because the trailer sells the concert so much. And so it was a little mixed bag for what I had to wait for with the twist, or just not knowing when it would actually end, going to the house and in other locations as they have to uncover the mystery. It was kind of a shock for what they were doing. It wasn't necessarily a selling point to the whole movie as a whole, but it did create something that engaged me a little bit more with the psychological terror that you suck in with Joshua Hartnett's performance. But there are some parts when you don't know what the twist is all about. It's weird camera work in certain particular moments where you're face to face with him, but I'm not particularly uncomfortable as the movie is set out to be like. And at number 5, we have Jackpot. Now, this isn't one I expected a lot out of. It's a Amazon Prime exclusive with Awkwafina and John Cena, all about this lottery that if you win it in this one city, then everyone is after you, trying to kill you, and if they kill you, they get your lottery jackpot, and no one has won the lottery jackpot and not been killed. So what that pulls out about goes about interesting locations, some good action. Now, it's unbelievable to a certain extent what they're doing, but it still plays along the rules that it's kind of set up to be suspending disbelief. So while it doesn't have particularly great writing, you can sort of get into the chemistry and the relationship, what you're getting out of John Cena's character, Awkwafina's character, how they work together, and also building upon the bonds of trust, psychological ideas within how the world works when they're put in this sort of situation. That becomes an interesting concept, delivers mostly on what it's going for, even if it's not meant to be taken seriously, and so it ultimately gives a good film that's not particularly great, but delivers on something I may end up watching again from Paul Feig. And at number 4, we got It Ends With Us. Now, this is a sort of risque film, just what we're getting into. I didn't know the twist or have even watched any trailer with it, and so what we're getting with the boyfriend was a surprise, and the subject matter was touchy with just trauma and abuse. What you're getting into with that subject, it's heavy-handed, and the writing is rather good. You're getting sort of into the relationship. It feels rather by the books in some sense of belief, but that also can bring the believability factor a little bit higher. Just what they're going about, and some moments that are just heavy-ended and uncomfortable, just what you're getting out of. And the ending, it can be played a little safe into some retrospect of what some people that have experienced that in real life may not have gotten the better end of the outcome, but it still pulls out telling the story with something that goes about in a better way. And so it ultimately can win me over in some retrospect of the movie as a whole. And at number 3, we have The Forge. Now, this is a great faith-based film. Now, it doesn't do great with writing the characters to be highly detailed, highly complex with the relational motive, and showing development that happens shortly over time when it should be longly spanned out. And so there's certain aspects where I do enjoy the message that after Alex Kendrick is bringing as the writer and director to this film. It's one of the better produced films from him. Just what he has to pull off with this budget, building up this environment that looks kind of realistic to the natural ideas, but it is filled with all Christians to a sense, all their characters, And there's not necessarily a struggle against what those other friends are against him and how he has to go from point A to point B, not really building upon himself to becoming just this great and perfect guy by the end. And that's not necessarily an angle that Christians can perfectly capture. And so there's a lot of missing pieces of the puzzle that makes it great and complex if you're making a flawed Christian being able to do all these things but not come out perfect. And so it plays by the book, and some certain ideas just not always being able to become unpredictable in how it flows throughout the story, even if there is a few surprises here and there. And at number 2, we have Harold and the Purple Crayon. Now, I went into this one excited. I hadn't heard great reviews, but it's just a fun family film that dives into what it's based on, a children's book, and it creates a sense of imagination that I did not expect from Zachary Levi. His performances, for me, are hit and miss just based on how he plays somewhat of the same character. And this one, while he feels like the same person, there's a liveliness to the story and what we get out of the fun imagination exploring the life of Harold going into this countercultural world as he has to experience the world for the first time, and the sense of imagination and the power of imagination that bleeds out of this film is just fun and just all the way that. And so even if it may not be the best written, what it's trying to do, it has the right message, the right attachment to me. Even though I don't have any strong attachments to the book or memories of the story in general, this just extended that idea of that short book and displayed it in a nice fashion that, even though it's a family fun film that sometimes doesn't always work in my favor, it just delivered on all of the laughs, the delightful fun, and some common tropes for what you're expecting out of it, making it a little silly. But that's something that I was able to suspend my disbelief later on into the film because of how it started off with and brought about its great themes as a whole. And that leaves at number 1, Alien Romulus. Now, this is a great combination of Ridley Scott's Alien as well as James Cameron's Aliens, and also adding in bits and pieces of the alien lore within Prometheus, just touching on all of those ideas, making it an action movie, a thought out sci-fi drama, and also just delivering on the horror and all the scares, just being a great experience to just have in theaters. And just not only that, just there were pieces of Alien and Aliens for me personally that I felt were missing upon first watch and rewatch, and so this one combined both pieces, filled in the gaps, and just made it my favorite of the Alien franchise as of now. Just being able to delight in these characters, bringing back a surprise character from the first Alien movie, tying in all these ideas, and also building upon the Alien lore to the franchise, and just adding in some great characters that I saw their motivations, I got attached to their interesting tropes, and once we're getting into the AI character, I feel he becomes more human than some of the other ones from the past Alien movies, and so that just adds in all the pieces together, making it a perfect fit to not necessarily be the best of the year just yet, but still best of August 2024 and a great movie for the year as a whole. And so that's just my ranking of all 9 movies that I saw in August 2024. Let me know down in the comments below what movies you watched, which was your least favorite, your favorite, and everything right in the middle. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't already to join in the film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. So that's just all, and make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.